Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Life and Love post-COVID. I'm your host, Eri Kardos, and today I have the amazing Jaymin Patel here with me.
Hi, that's me.
If you didn't know, Jaymin's my husband, and we have we have been together for many years now. Many years.
Probably like 80.
It feels that way in the best of ways.
Yeah.
And we have gotten to create a life together that is, I think it's just amazing. It's just simply amazing. And people often ask us, how did you do it?
Yeah.
So we have 30 minutes today. We want to share a highlight or an overview of what our philosophy has been, and then share some things that I think that everyone can start implementing and trying out in their own lives that might be inspiring. So that's my intention for today.
Yes.
Yay. So for those of you who don't know us, wow, our story is very long, but I'm going to give you some highlights. We met, we met online a long time ago, like over a decade ago. We were introduced by his former partner, one of my best friends when I was at Amazon. And she's like, you two just have to meet. You have so much in common.
Clearly, I was a great boyfriend.
Yes. Yes. And so we got connected, but it didn't really go anywhere. We were just chatting on Messenger. And then fast forward several years later, we ended up getting a chance to connect. He was coming to town for a speaking gig, and I was in Seattle running an intentional community. And he decided, hey, I wonder who's in Seattle that I haven't met yet. We ended up connecting, and he came over to hang out, and we had this just really beautiful connection. It wasn't romantic at the time. It was just a really beautiful connection. And
I got her to do yoga, even though she hates yoga.
It's true. I was maybe trying to also impress him a little bit. So I was like, yeah, like yoga, I'll do it. And at that time I hated it. Yeah. Hated yoga. Now I actually enjoy it. So things have changed. You can teach an old downward dog new tricks. I have really bad mom jokes. Mm-hmm. And then over time, we fell in love. I mean, it wasn't even over time. We developed a deep relationship, and then I kind of stalked him, knowing when his speaking tour is going to be bringing him to the same place my speaking tour was. And we had an incredible romantic week together in San Francisco, which turned into me saying, hey, do you have any partners? And us just figuring out what that would mean for us. And we soon discovered that it would mean a family and having kids and traveling the world and selling almost all of our belongings to be traveling and doing what we love and teaching. So it's been quite an adventure. And now we have 2 children, ages 5 and 6.5. And we live in Bali, Indonesia, which we didn't expect. That was part of our world tour. We thought we'd be nomads forever.
That's what we thought.
And then Bali called to us, and our 3-week stay in Bali turned into 4 years now. And we love it here. We love raising a family here. And in the process, we have really found a lot of balance and what we call the and. So we want to talk about what the and is?
Yeah. I think for us, really, the and is there are these more societal stories, or even when we started talking about our desires with others, there was this notion of like, oh, it's like impossible to travel if you have kids, or, well, yeah, I guess you can get a remote job and then you can travel. And, it was like being an entrepreneur and handling kids at the same time. Wow, that's like a lot to take on. Or, so on and so forth.
Or you have to have like a 9-to-5 job to have abundance.
Yeah. And it's too risky to do other things. So there's all these kind of like naysayer voices, and then of course internally there's also like, this is gonna work, should we do this, like all that sort of stuff. But we really wanted to push the limits of what was given to us or told. We're little rebels, and it was just like, well, this is all you can have, and we're just like, we want more. And when we first traveled to Europe, Eri was leading an unconference in Berlin. I was doing a TED Talk in Belgium. Our son was 5.5 months old. We came together and we're doing it. And we're like, here we are doing work that we love, being entrepreneurs, traveling the world, living in abundance, having our family. And yeah, there was extra work. We had an entire bag full of just baby stuff, you know.
I have a great picture of him carrying that.
Yeah, and then we had to carry that everywhere and try to backpack, and you know, eventually over time, backpacking was less of a thing. We started taking, you know, transport or you know, buses, planes, automobiles, cabs, whatever was needed. But you know, we had to start making these adjustments, and it took a little bit more of investment of time, effort, money, energy to do it. But we wanted to find the and. So how can we be launching our businesses, growing our businesses, doing work that we love, not even giving up a single ounce to try to like gather the money just so that we can blank. It's like, no, we're going to make this work. We're going to be in love, have our relationship, and travel, and have a family, and be parents. And we were able to
and be individuals too.
And be individuals.
I think that's a huge piece.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of the foundations of our relationship as well. It's kind of that and of exploring everything together, but doing it as sovereign individuals.
Yeah. And one of the big, I guess what I want to say here is one of the big ways we've done that is by creating a foundation based on safety and freedom, and allowing the other person to be authentically themselves. And we can always request what we desire.
Yep.
And it's okay to say no. And those are things that are not really taught in this world of all you have to do is find your better half, and then like they'll complete you, and then you get lost in the relationship and not in like remembering who you are and bringing your wholeness into the relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's helped us create this life of and so powerfully, is that we get to, Jaymin gets to be Jaymin, and I get to be Eri, and our kids get to be Avi and Zion, and that every single person is showing up with something unique and unique gifts and unique desires. And how do we all play together in a space and bring something new to the table that we might not have thought of without that there?
Yeah, I would say there's virtually no conscious and maybe very little unconscious aspects of like, you need to be this in our family and in our relationship. When I came into the relationship, this is the benefit of marrying a relationship coach with a best-selling book and tons of experience, is that, you know, I came in and it was just like, oh, well, it's like this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be like this, and I'm a husband, and a husband means it to be like this. And she's just like, babe, it's good to be you. Like, I love you. And so, yeah, the big foundation of our relationship is it's based in what we call conscious relating, you know, and it's being conscious every day that we're choosing to relate. And it's not like forever or some promise that we know is impossible for us to keep. It's for so long as we support the highest growth of the other person. And in doing that, there's a lot of value and benefit, because it allows, I believe, even more love to be there. I came in thinking, you're my better half, you complete me, you know, all these sort of stupid things that I didn't realize were actually harmful, that Eri helped me unwind. And it was just like, yeah, you're not my better half. You're not completing me. We're both complete individuals coming together and doing this adventure called life together. And there was just an incredible amount of peace and power in that.
Yeah. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is, like, this whole summit has been around how do we go from this more contracted space that many of us have been in during COVID to one of more expansion and fun and freedom, and how do you get to embrace that? And I just wanted to say that a lot of the way we've done that and continue doing so in our relationship is by starting with ourselves. And how do we model that in our individual lives? And I want to talk today about one of the things we do as a couple, but I want to start with how it relates to us as individuals. So one of my favorite things that we do together are called nice dates. Nice. So let me back up. There have been a lot of studies around what stimulates the same parts of the brain that make you feel like you did when you were newly in love. So when you are doing something that's new, interesting, challenging, and exciting, or nice, then the same parts of the brain are stimulated. So when we are being really intentional in creating these experiences with someone else we love, where it's also new, interesting, challenging, exciting for them, you can both start to feel that NRE, new relationship energy, the butterflies in your stomach, like remembering how exciting it is to connect. Now, the same thing can happen with our relationship with our own souls. So if I'm creating experiences that I'm choosing to step outside of my comfort zone, I'm creating opportunities for me to feel, be an experience that's new, interesting, challenging, exciting for me, I'm feeling more of my aliveness and my own connection to my soul and just being present here. And then I can bring that home and into life and into all my relationships around me, with work, with my clients, with my kids. And there's this freshness. So I just wanted to bring that in. We're going to talk about what we do on our dates a little bit, but it starts here. And that's been a really important foundation for both of us, where Jaymin I know that probably every 3 weeks or so, Jaymin's going to need to take a nice date for himself, a solo date.
Yeah.
And chances are he's going to want to run off and explore a new mountain with our dog.
That's very true.
Or find a new exotic hotel. But usually we save those for us. So it's all over the place, but just knowing that that's a part of how we keep healthy as individuals and stay healthy in our relationship is really important.
Yeah. So I would say, like, one of the things that became clear, and I think that is important, is that there's a lot to relearn about love, about relationships. And for me, I didn't have this kind of understanding, but there's a lot of difficulty I think many people are finding in relationship longevity and keeping the relationship going. And I've experienced a little bit before, but I hear it a lot more. And people say things like, "Oh, the spark is gone," or "the other person has changed," or "yeah, it's just not the same anymore," or whatever it might be. There's like this excuse, and then they start considering, wow, okay, is this relationship over? And oftentimes people are just like, yeah, no, I don't want to keep pushing on. And what we've discovered, being married for, I think, like 7 years now, right?
Somewhere around there.
That the longevity required us to relearn a lot about what love and relationships are all about. And one thing that I learned from Eri was this concept of NRE and MRE. So a new relationship energy, which lasts like
3 to around 6 months, usually 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, around 6 months. And then you transition your relationship into MRE, mature relationship energy. And in mature relationship energy, love becomes a choice. And you choose every day to love this person. And I think what we're trying to say here is that we're creating conditions that allow us to choose each other every day, because we see that if we don't have a choice in choosing each other, and we have this commitment that we have to be together forever, like traditional marriage usually creates in almost every religion, then it's almost like, okay, well, I'm here, I have to do it. And sometimes it helps people make the choice because they have no other choice. But we want to make as much individual, conscious, grounded choice as possible. So there's more risk there potentially, but then there's also more ability to really explore, like, how do we want to make this happen? And these nice dates are just one of the ways that not only do we make the choice, but we remind ourselves, even after like relating for a long time, having kids, being in a family, having a second kid, like having a pet now, like it's just like, it can be very grounding. And these dates are reminding us to not just bring us back into the energy of NRE, but they're reminding us of all of those things that we did fall in love with, that give us the ability to make that choice again. But also, one of the big things with that is that we have no expectation that neither of us is going to change, right? And so the expectation is that we both are going to change. In fact, sometimes we're such growth junkies. It's like, well, you haven't even grown, and so we're kind of like waiting for the other person to grow, right? And it's inevitable that we'll both continue growing, but we really embrace that. So it's about, okay, well, if we really embrace that you're going to be somebody new every day and continue to grow, and so am I, then we also bring a lot of curiosity of like, okay, who are you today? Like, what's going on? I'm trying not to hold on to the stories. Well, last week you did this, or a year ago you did that, or you always like this thing. It's like, that might change, right? And so these dates that we go on are actually super, super important. And Eri used to run a thing called the Great Date Escape. She's created all these connective dates that have helped dozens and dozens, if not hundreds and hundreds of couples all around the world. And there's actually a lot of brilliance in the way that Eri approaches relearning love, relearning relationships through this concept of dating. And so we don't, a date for us is, I mean, sometimes it might be going out to a nice dinner, you know, but that's not it. You know, people are like, oh, let's go on a date and let's go do the same thing that we always do. And then the dates feel boring. And then couples are like, no, dates are boring. I'd rather just stay home and watch Netflix, you know? So you've got to really emphasize the date has to be new, interesting, challenging, and exciting. So it's going to new place. Like I will literally be squealing in delight with the surprises that I have for Eri, even though she'd rather just know up front. But you know, I'll be riding on my motorbike somewhere and I'll pass like a view, a hotel, a restaurant, an activity, whatever it might be, and I'll lock it into my date bank. And then when it's time for our weekly dates with each other, I'll pull one of these out, or Eri will pull one of these out, and then we'll surprise each other with this, like, okay, where exactly are we going? I don't know. And then all of a sudden we're with the kids and we're all in a camper van and we're parked right at the beach and we're having a great time, or we're going up climbing a mountain, or we discovered an amusement park that's like 3 hours away on this one island that we live on, or a hidden canyon with waterfalls, or a new hotel that was just built and opened its doors. We're one of the first customers. We're always trying to find these new, interesting, challenging, and exciting things that allow us to fall more in love with each other as we are today, not looking for that past person, but that person that we are today.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that is about the letting go of expectations, as you mentioned earlier, but expectations and assumptions are just super dangerous for relationships. And I want to say, if you don't think you have an expectation or assumption in your relationship, pause and reflect on that, because we all have them. They're ingrained in us. When we were growing up, we all learned love in a myriad of ways, from our pop culture, from our parents, from what we saw in Disney films. And we have these ideas of like, okay, this is what love is going to look like. So being really careful of just, what does that mean for you? Mm-hmm. And does that really ring true for who you are now as an adult?
Yeah.
So some stuff to think about. Also, I think that the way that we approach relationships also gives each other a lot of permission. Mm-hmm. Permission to be ourselves, and permission for there to be change, as he mentioned earlier. And then I love you mentioned curiosity. Yeah. Curiosity is super, super powerful. And I think people often give that up. And they give up the curiosity about themselves too. Mm-hmm. So again, tuning back into yourself before you look into the relationship. What are you curious about today? Who are you today? What are you feeling inspired by? What have you been wanting to try but haven't tried it yet? Because when you are tapped into yourself and you're feeling really alive, that's when you get to bring it back into this entire world, right?
Yeah. And I think if you think about what is partnership, right? Partnership is also tuning into the other person and being like, are you sure? Eri is so good at this. I mean, I think this is why she does what she does, but especially early on, there would be like invitation for, say, New Year's, right? And we've got a toddler, Eri's breastfeeding a newborn, and like our community is all coming together for a New Year's event. And she knows I'm a night owl. She knows I actually love New Year's. It's one of my favorite holidays. And I'm like, let's just do a family thing and like go to bed, and like I'll do the first shift with our newborn and give him the bottle, and that way he can sleep more. And she's just like, are you sure? I think you should go to New Year's. I think that's really going to fulfill you. And I'm like, no. I'm a dad now. I'm here. I'm going to be responsible. Like, it's okay. I don't need to go to New Year's. I'll go next year. When the kids are older. And she's like, I got it. Actually, it's fine. Like, I've got it. Why don't you go? And I'll be like, no. I'm a husband. I'm a dad now. I feel like I need to sacrifice. This is a story I hold around fatherhood and being a husband or leader of a family is sacrifice, because that's what I saw in my family. And she's like, babe, I really think you should just go check it out. Go for a little bit. If you don't like it, come back at 10 and we'll still cuddle. And I was like, okay, and then I could come back at like 2 a.m. and I've had such a fun time and I'm just like wildly alive. I'm give her a little kiss before I get into bed, and in the morning she's got it all going on, and I wake up and she's like, how was it? I'm like, it was amazing. And I feel shiny, I feel new, I feel like, wow, because I get a lot of connection from friends. I really love New Year's. It's one of my favorite holidays. I always tend to host a party for holidays. I get dressed up, and it's just like I meet new people and connect with our community. And this was everything that I wanted. And it allowed me to be like, right. And I'll do the same thing with Eri sometimes, where oftentimes, as a mom, right, especially as a new mom back in the day, there would be this thing where it's just like she's giving to me. She's feeding both of our children. She's all this stuff is happening, and it's just give, 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 give. And that doesn't necessarily mean that she wants a night out on the town, right? She probably just wants the house. Yeah, like the house alone. So I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna take the kids out for this thing. And then she's like, no, I want to come and I want to be. I'm like, babe, like I got it. I'm really excited. I'm just gonna take the kids on this walk to the playground. You have like 2 hours at home to do whatever you want. And then she can just like get a cup of tea, sit down on the sofa in the quiet, reconnect to herself. And then, so our partnership is around giving the other person the space that they need. And now, guess what? We've changed. And so for me, now part of what gives me energy and focus and excitement and reconnection is a quiet cabin in the mountain with my dog. That's it. I don't want the social stuff. I don't want all that. It's now I want the quiet cabin in the mountain with my dog, and just go there for an overnight. And there's usually no Wi-Fi, and it's amazing. That's really, really what I enjoy,
And I want a night on the town dancing, doing kizomba.
Yeah. She wants to go dance. She's an incredible dancer. And so she wants to like just go do that. And then so, and we both love quiet time. We both love social time. So it's just figuring out like where is each person. And so we can kind of partner together in making sure that this foundation of conscious choice, of curiosity, of, challenging ourselves to grow and to really claim what we want is going to then in the longer term fulfill our relationship more. Mm-hmm. Whereas what I've experienced in the past or what I've seen other people do is a little bit more of like, well, the other person just wants to spend all this time with the other person and not with me. And then they create a story around that, and it just begins to degrade. And we just really see the value in how maintaining the other person's sovereignty creates more love and connection in our relationship and gives us more longevity.
Yeah. And now we're more better resourced, so we can go out and do more and just be more grounded and happy and present. One other thing that I think is important for me to speak into is when, especially in these situations, like the New Year's example, I'm also checking with myself to make sure I'm not just self-sacrificing.
Oh yeah.
Or trying to be a good mom or a good wife and like, look how cool I am by allowing you to go have a party. I'm making sure that I feel really well resourced, and this is what I want to be doing, and asking for anything I need. So that night before he went out, like I was able to tune in and say, hey, before you go, I'd really appreciate if you could help me with the dishes, and if you could wait till after the kids go to sleep before you leave, right? Mm-hmm. And so I made these requests, making sure that I was taken care of also, and he can always say no. Yeah. And I can always say no to things. And having that giving each other like the safety to say no is so incredibly important. Huge. You're gonna find the right thing for you both, but most people don't even take the opportunity to explore what would happen if you said no to each other. Mm-hmm. And there are ways that we can talk about another time. This is a short call.
And that builds up a lot of resentment.
Yeah. But just starting to plant these seeds of, if these aren't things that are currently happening in your world, it doesn't have to be in a romantic relationship, but how are you really figuring out what your boundaries are, what your desires are, asking for those things, and put yourself in situations where you can receive no's and be able to be okay with that. And also create new adventures for yourself is just so important as we're stepping out into this new world. This is going to be a whole new ball game for how we get to expand and what we get to experience with love with ourselves, love in partnership. And so it's really an invitation to everybody today of, what do you want to create? What is the and for you? And how are you going to be really conscious about that and have fun and make choices where you get to integrate some of these tools we talked about today?
Absolutely. And if you're watching this and you're maybe like a new parent or a single parent, or investing into a nanny is a big investment, and that I remember those days. And Eri has so many resources on this. She has so many of these nice dates, new, interesting, challenging, exciting, that you can do at home, but completely bring you into connection.
Yeah.
I remember I had a dad I was working with who's kind of in this position, and I shared one of Eri's dates, and he literally was like, we had the most amazing lovemaking that I've had with my wife since before our child was born.
Wow.
Like, it just led into that reconnection of that energy. And so this is not about extravagance. This is not about fanciness. This is not about any of those things. So I don't want to misconstrue any of that. It's always fun to do those things if that feels like what you want to prioritize, invest into. But some of this stuff, like, you can just do it right when the kids are in bed, right before you're super tired, and that little window takes about 30 to 60 minutes, and you can actually implement one of these dates that Eri has created that has instructions and all this stuff, and she's just full of resources. So if any of this is kind of like, okay, I see this, but just bring up that but, and especially in the video below, and there is a way to move through it. I've seen it happen tons of times through what Eri has been teaching.
I remember I've been grateful, like, just message me if you're feeling stuck. And I had one client message me, and she was like, all right, tell me what we're going to do. It was our date night. We were supposed to have a babysitter. The babysitter got sick. We got hit with a snowstorm. The kids are about to go to sleep, but and we can't go out, and money is strapped. Now what? And we created the most incredible date that was helping them relive their honeymoon. And it cost maybe $1.29 for some twine that we ended up using. It's a great story. I'll tell it another time.
Yeah.
But it was just that. It's like, lean into the curiosity. If you're like, but Eri, you don't understand my situation. Help me understand your situation, and I'll help you break out of that pattern so you can get into something new and fun and expansive.
It's kind of what she's an expert in.
Yeah. We're good at this. All right. Well, oh my gosh, time flew by. So let me just leave you with this, that we love the work that we do in this world. We love sharing what we've created in our own lives and what we do with our clients. If you want to follow us, we'll be sharing all the links below. But you can find me at reallearnlove.com and on Instagram at Coach Eri Kardos. And I've got an awesome Facebook community that you are already in. But if you're watching this as a replay somewhere else and you want to join, there'll be a link to the Facebook group there too. And Jaymin, how can people find you?
I am usually tagged with Eri in a lot of posts. So Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, my handle is I am Jaymin J. Patel. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/PatelJayminJ. And all my programs are called Fully Lived. So if you put in my name and Fully Lived, you'll find all the details you might want.
Yay. And if you want to know more, just reach out. We love to connect, and we love to help people figure out what's next for them. So thanks for tuning in.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.